Hi, this is a real-time walkthrough of how to score free response question 7 using a tick sheet. We will begin with phrase 2 and the baseline. In the baseline, I find a diminished fifth moving to a perfect fifth. That is a minor error. I mark that with a slash through one box and I annotate it. The rest of the baseline has correct pitches in it. I move to the Roman numerals and I find an inappropriate use of a 4 chord where it cannot harmonize the given melody note. I check the cadence. The cadence is good in this case. Based on the placement and the number of errors, I can award this phrase 2 points. I now move to phrase 3. I start with the baseline of phrase 3, and in the phrase 3, I find parallel fifths. I then move to the second half of the baseline, and I find an unresolved quartal seventh. Because I'm now scoring the second half of phrase 3, I will typically start on the right-hand side of this area of my tick sheet. That was an unresolved quartal seventh. I then also find successive leaps that do not outline a triad. That is also an egregious error. I then move to the Roman numerals, and I find poor chord succession at the beginning of phrase 3, where a 5 chord moved to a 2 chord. I then find parallel octaves implied by the Roman numerals, which is also an egregious error. And in the second half of phrase 3, I find poor chord usage in the form of a 3-6-4 chord. Based on the errors and their placement, I judge the baseline to be poor. I judge the Roman numerals to be poor. However, when I check the cadence, I find that the cadence itself is good, and therefore this phrase earns 1 point. I now move to phrase 4. I check every note in the baseline and discover that every note in the baseline is appropriate and there are no errors to be marked. I check the Roman numerals. The first half of phrase 4, all the Roman numerals are correct. I move to the second half of phrase 4, and I find an egregious error of a 7 diminished chord in root position that moves to something other than a 1 chord. I also find an inappropriate chord usage where a 1 chord was written under a melody note that it cannot go with, and therefore I have 2 egregious errors in the Roman numerals. I judge the baseline to be good. I judge the Roman numerals to be fair, and I check the cadence. I discover that there is a mixed match in the cadence, and therefore the cadence is not considered good, and therefore I can only award 2 points to this phrase. I always check for the special point, also sometimes casually called the 9th point, to see if this response qualifies as truly musical. A response is eligible for this truly musical point, even if it does contain errors. In this case, however, this response does not receive the special point. And therefore, I can add up the score for this response, which is 2 + 1 + 2 for a final score of 5. Thank you.